last class we discussed about the intermediate types of ADC, right? So we having single slope, dual slope, then so we discussed only these two types in our syllabus. So last class we discussed about the single slope ADC, right? So here today we are going to discuss about dual slope ADC. So what's the dual slope? So what is the dual slope? So in single slope we have seen the ramp generator will produce the output voltage that will be linearly increasing with respect to time as well as frequency, right? So we discussed about only one slope, right? So here in single slope we are going to compare two voltages. That is one is the analog input voltage VA. So this is VA and reference voltage VR. So we are going to compare these two voltages and the corresponding output is generated. This is the corresponding output waveform, right? So here we are having two slopes. That is called as dual slope ADC, right? So now listen. So here we have two input voltages, right? What is the VA and what is the VR? VR is the reference voltage. So you have to select the values with opposite polarity, right? So you have to select the analog input with positive polarity and you have to select the reference voltage with negative polarity. So you have to select the values with opposite polarity. Take it out. This is the block diagram of dual slope ADC. So we have a buffer, integrator, comparator, and a control logic. As well as we have a stage counter. So here we are using a ripple counter, right? So after reaching 2 power n clock pulse, it will again set back to 0. So after counting 2 power n pulse, it will again set to 0. So we are using a n-type ripple counter in this dual slope type ADC. And so this is buffer, this is comparator. So what is the amplifier? That is the integrator, right? So this dual slope ADC is an indirect method in the AD conversion. So where the analog signal VA and the reference voltage VR are integrated by using the comparator and then they will be counted using the counter, right? So it is an indirect method in the AD conversion. So here we are having buffer, that is A1, then we will be having integrator amplifier A2, then we will be having a comparator, then we will be having a control logic, and we have a n-stage counter. So now we will be using a ripple counter. And we have two control signals, that is the start and end of conversion. So start will start the conversion, and as soon as the counter resets to 0, it will give the line to the, or it will give the signal to the EOC command line, right? Then listen. So converter first integrates the analog input signal of clock pulse to power n, and then it will integrate the reference voltage of clock pulse capital N. Listen. So the converter first integrates the analog input signal of clock pulse to power n. Then the integrator will integrate the reference voltage, that is minus VR, to clock pulse capital N. Right? So this is the integrated output waveform for the dual slope ADC. So here you can see this is for analog input signal and this is for reference voltage. You can see that analog input, the output of the analog input signal will have a negative slope. Then we have applied positive input at the analog input, right? So we have taken positive input, so we are having a negative slope. And for reference voltage, you have chosen minus here, right? So minus polarity will be having a positive slope. And the integration of analog input signal occurs on a time period of pulse 2 power n. So this is nothing but time period, right? So this is the time table for integration of analog input signal, that is VA. Then the integration of reference voltage occurs on a time period capital N cycles, right? So integration of analog input voltage VA occurs for a clock pulse 2 power n, and the integration of reference voltage occurs for a clock pulse capital N, right? Listen. right? Then at the time period TA, the comparator value goes down and the counter resets to 0. At this stage, the value of the comparator goes down. At time period T, the counter counting the couples of order 2 power n. After that, the counter resets again back to 0. So this is the integrated output for analog input and this is the integrated, that's the positive slope for positive output for minus VR. Right? Now we are going to see about the operation of the dual slope type ADC. So next is the operation. So listen, before the start command, the switch SW1 will be connected to the ground and switch SW2 will be closed. This is before the start command. So at this time, any offset voltage present in the buffer or integrating amplifier or converter gets stored in the CIECE capacitor. Right? So before the start command, the switch SW1 will be connected to the ground and switch SW2 will be closed. Any offset voltage present in the amplifier A1 as buffer, A2 integrator as well as the comparator gets stored in this capacitor. Right? So the offset value gets stored until the threshold value of the comparator is achieved. Right? So this is before the start command. Then the CIECE capacitor will provide a compensation input offset voltage for all the three amplifiers. So the CIECE capacitor provides a compensation input offset voltage for all the three amplifiers. Next, listen. Next, when switch SW2 is open using the control logic, the CIECE flags as a memory storage and holds the voltage value, right? Until the offset value becomes null. So when the switch is open using the control logic signal, the CIECE capacitor will act as a memory storage and holds the voltage present in them until the offset value becomes null. Then listen, at the time period T1, when the start command is given, and at the time period T equal T1, the control logic will make the switch SW2 open. So at time period T1, the control logic will initiate the or make the switch 2 to open and switch 1 will connect to VA, right? And the value stored in the capacitor will become 0. So when the start command is given, at time period T equal to T1, the control logic will make the switch 2 to open and switch 1 will be connected to the VA, right? So switch 1 will be connected to VA and be connected to the buffer and the output will be given to the integrating amplifier and then the output voltage will not be given to the converter. So first the integration of the analog input signal VA takes place, right? So at this time, then time at T is equal to T1, we'll be giving a positive input signal, analog input signal VA, so we'll be getting a negative slope, right? So the top period of 2 power n. So it is run by the ripple counter. So you count, the counter starts counting the couples and when it reaches 2 power n, so it again resets back to 0, right? Then the same point is repeated. So time period for the analog input voltage will be 2 power n and integrating time for the reference voltage will be capital N. Now consider T1 will be the time period for the integration of analog input voltage VA. So it is given by 2 power n into T, that is the time period, and 2 power n will be the number of clock pulses. Right? So first, the switch SW1 will be connected to VA and integration of analog input voltage takes place. So the clock pulse will be 2 power n and the output of the RAM decreases and the value will be a negative value. Right? Listen. So at this stage, when it reaches 2 power n clock pulse, the counter value resets to 0. the integration takes place and output side V naught will be getting a positive slope. This will be the output of the reference voltage. So output of the analog voltage will be a negative slope and the output of the reference voltage will be a this is the output of the analog voltage VA and this is the output of the reference voltage minus VR. Right? So that's how the operation of this dual slope ADC. So listen, now we are going to calculate the time period T1. So what's the number of counts for the analog input, integration of analog input? 2 power n, right? Then what's the count for the integration of reference voltage? What is the count for integration of reference voltage minus VR? Capital N. Write it down in the above figure. In the above figure, T1 is given by listen. What is T2 minus T1? What is T2 minus T1? So T1 will be having 2 power n counts, right? So write it down. 2 power n counts by clock rate. 2 power n counts by clock rate. Then what is T3 minus T2? Listen, T2 minus T1 is nothing but the integration of the analog input voltage VA, that is 2 power n counts by clock rate. So then what is T3 minus T2? That's the integration of the reference voltage minus VR, right? So it is given by digital count capital N by clock rate. Write it down. Completed. Then write it down for an integrator. For an integrator, the output V naught is given by solid element is in the third unit, right? So del V naught is equal to minus 1 by RC V into del V. This is the output of the integrator. Write it down. The voltage V naught will be equal at V1 at the instant T2 Listen, this is the output of the integrator, right? So V is equal to 1 by RC integral limit from T1 to T2 VA into T1 into Dt, right? So what is RC? RC is nothing but the time constant of the integrator. So the above equation can be written as V1 is equal to minus 1 by RC. Stop talking. So first we are going to do the integration for analog input voltage, right? So EA. So what is the time period for EA? T2 minus T1. So write it down. So T2 minus T1. So this is the output voltage V1 and is given by minus 1 by RC. Then for this V we are going to integrate the analog voltage as well as the reference voltage. First integrating analog voltage as VA, right? Then the time will be T2 minus T1. T2 minus T1. What is this region? T2 minus T1, right? Then write it down. The voltage V1 is also given by T is equal to T2. T is equal to T2. Then T1 is equal to minus 1 by RC. So first we have done derivation for analog voltage, right? Next, we do derivation for reference voltage. It is given by minus VR. And what is the time period? T3 minus T2. Listen, you have to choose the value with different polarity. You have to choose the value with opposite polarity for analog input as well as reference voltage. Right? So completed. So answer this is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2. Completed. Listen. Both the sides are equal, right? So equate these sides. Equate this side. So we get it VA T2 minus T1 equal to ER into T3 minus T2, right? So completed. Then what's the T2 minus T1? 2 power n. Then T3 minus T2 capital N. So substitute T2 minus T1 as 2 power n and T3 minus T2 as capital N. So substitute T2 minus T1 as 2 power n and T3 minus T2 as capital N. So what is the equation? VA into instead of T2 minus T1 substitute 2 power n, right? So 2 power n is equal to VR into capital N. So what is the answer? So from this what's VA? So from this what's VA? VA is equal to VR into 2 power n, right?